G'day Teacher Geeks. I want to talk about why people feel like they can waste our time as teachers. And I'm going to keep it people because I don't want to target this as anyone in particular. But when we are sitting in a meeting and we know there's a million other things we'd prefer to be doing, here's why our time can be wasted in such a way. Because our time and energy and the work that we produce is not equated to and correlated with a bottom line, a financial productive output, right? And so if you're an employer, let's say, and you said, okay, I've got 50 employees and I want to have a 1 hour meeting. And you'd probably think to yourself, okay, that's 50 hours of work. That's one person working an overtime week that I'm going to put to this one meeting. You'd make sure, well, I know as a boss, I know that I would make sure if I was going to spend the equivalent of one person working for a whole week, that there was going to be a meaningful outcome at the end of it that would have been worth that time. You think about, okay, if you 50 hours at $50 an hour, right? Is that $2.5 grand? My math sucks. Yeah. You would think, okay, this has to be worth $2,500. Okay, in order, whatever we're going to achieve in this meeting. I sat in a meeting once, same thing, 1 hour, 50 teachers. So this is not really hypothetical, this is a real life situation. And the goal was to define teaching. It's okay. Now, luckily, because I'm such a teacher geek, this is something I do. I'm embarrassed to admit it, I do it in my own spare time. I'd already had my definition. So when we got to groups, I said, look, so let's see if I can remember this from having written it 5 years ago. Teaching is the acquisition and consolidation of new knowledge and skills. Teaching is the causing of the acquisition, right, of, teaching is the art of causing Teaching is the art and science of causing the consolidation and acquisition of new knowledge and skills. There we are. Okay, so it took me a little bit to get there, but I got there. And that's one sentence, I think, because I like to think about teaching, and so that's what it was. Now, the meeting finished, and there was all these, anyway, I don't know what else every other group got to. I just said, here's my definition, mic drop. Anyone else got anything to contribute? And they were like, no, thanks, Trav, good job. Okay, we went on and did something else for 55 minutes. We all came back, 50 teachers. I think there was more. And there was just a quiet moment for a couple of minutes before they moved into the next bit of the meeting. So I raised my hand. I said, hey, can I just make a point here? I just said, hey, we just spent 50 hours of work to define teaching. Now, I said, now, if you wanted us to do that because it's a valuable thing for us to reflect on in our own, like to actually reflect on what is teaching, and then this is part of a bigger scheme and broader plan, that's fine. But perhaps articulate that before the meeting starts. But if you're getting 50 people, 50 hours of work to come up with a one-sentence definition because you want this to be some sort of guiding principle for the school, I think there's a far more efficient way to do this, which would be get a knowledgeable administrator who rose to the rank, because the cream rises to the top in education always, right? Who knows about education, to come up with that definition and then pose that to the staff and say, do you agree, do you not agree, right? And then go, yeah, cool. But so what was the outcome there? Was it to come up with the definition? Well, you could have just done that for yourselves. Well, I could have given you a pretty good one, I think. All right, you could have had 10 of them and vote for the best one, and then the most popular one wins. You could have done that in 5 minutes. So the reason why people can waste our time is because it's not correlated and directed to a sort of, I would say, a financial outcome, like, or a noticeable output. So, and that's something, perhaps, feel free, I think, to use that same metric in your next meeting where you feel like your time is being wasted, to at the end, if you're brave enough, like, I mean, I'm a cocky, arrogant git. That's why I could stand up and say, hey, look, this was 50 hours of work. Was it worth it? And I could see a few other people like doing the math in their head going, oh yeah, right. Okay, yeah. Because you don't think about it. You think about, this is 1 hour of our staff. This is 1 hour. What does it matter? No, it's 50 people working for an hour. That's 50 hours of work. So some other people, the wheels turned over and they were like, oh, yeah, okay, is this valid? And I think it's worthwhile to phrase it in those terms to an administrator who might not think like that. Who might, oh, actually, you know what? Yeah, I just thought this was a meeting, like, is it really worth that time? Anyway, that's why people can waste their time, and that's what we can do about it.